Okay. I'm gonna wait for some people to join because I didn't put the link up and I'm an idiot. But we're live from New York. It's Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
We will rock you. Viva la leche.
I'm gonna get your blood. Not yet. Welcome to Ellen's yoga class. Everyone, please get your lighters and your bowls.
Wait, that'd be hilarious.
Live from New York. It's Saturday night. Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay. Ow. God. Okay. Sorry about the delay in getting the link up. I completely forgot to put it up. We're going to be doing a yin yoga class today. And yin is a lot different from vinyasa in that it's not a sequential flow. It's not really like structured in terms of, warming up and then sun salutations and then a standing sequence. It's like 7 or 8 postures that we're holding for a long period of time. And yin yoga comes from, it's actually coming from, like, the roots are in Chinese philosophy and the Chinese meridians. So it's a little bit different. It's more energetic. It's more for the connective tissues of the body. So the ligaments, joints, bones, that sort of thing. So, and the goal is to exercise those connective tissues and just regain space and regain mobility, all the while maintaining stability in the joints. And we basically do it through longer holds, and it allows the tension in the tissues to just release gradually. So when we're in these postures, it's important that we don't go super far into them. So we're not trying to get the deepest stretch possible. We're just trying to go right before our limit and stay there and just stay there for a long time so that we can gradually feel and gently feel it start to open up in our body. So the risk with this class is that you overstretch the body. So you just want to be really careful that you're not going really far and really deep into these poses. So just keep that in mind that, like, we are going to be holding these postures for probably 5 minutes in each, or like 3 to 5 minutes in each posture. So just keep that in mind. Don't overdo it. If you start to feel, when you start to feel a little bit of tingling sensation, that's when you know that it's working. But if it comes to the point of pain, then it's important to just back off of it and take a little bit of breather. And then the other really important part of each of these postures is that we're breathing into them. We're breathing super deeply into these, each of these postures. So it can get pretty tricky in our minds when we're holding something for a really long period of time and we're thinking, holy crap, when is this going to end? So that's when breath comes in, and that's when it really, really helps us hold these postures for a long period of time. So you're going to need all the props that you can get. So grab a blanket, grab pillows, possibly a strap or like a long blanket if you don't have a strap. And potentially if you have like something that sort of mimics a yoga block, like those blocks right there, get something like that. It could be books, it could be water bottles, essentially anything like that helps support you and helps like hold weight. So we're gonna get started in child's pose. And child's pose starts on your hands and knees with your shoulders stacked right over your wrists and your hips are right over your knees. You're going to take your knees wider than your hips like this, and then your toes are touching together. You're going to sit back all the way back on your heels, and this is where a blanket might come in handy. So we are going to be holding this for a significant amount of time, so it might be actually pretty nice to grab a blanket and just tuck it under your knees and sit back on it. And then you're just going to start to reach your arms forward so that you can rest your chest and your forehead on the mat. If you can't get your forehead all the way down to the mat, take a pillow and place it underneath your forehead. Okay. And we're going to be here for probably 4 or 5 minutes. Just taking some time to deeply breathe through the nose. And maybe you would make those little minor adjustments to create some more space in the spine. So you reach your fingertips a little bit farther forward. Maybe you push your hips a little bit further back towards your heels. And then start to tune into your breath. And noticing areas of your body that are starting to feel a little bit tight or sore. Or maybe they're something that's you're holding on some tension to. When we talk about connective tissues in our bodies, one of the biggest connective tissue in our body is the fascia. So fascia is a tissue substance that covers every single inch of our body inside of us. It covers our organs, it covers our muscles, our ligaments, even down to the cellular level. It covers a cell. And the thing that I can compare it to is when you peel an orange or some sort of citrus fruit, and you get all of the white substance, that thread-like substance that you peel off of the orange, and it's covering the fruit, it's covering the skin. That is sort of what fascia is modeled like. It's like covering every single part of our body. And when we have inflammation, when we have injury, fascia and excess fascia will start to build up in those sites where we have inflammation, we have injury, we have maybe some, if we're working really hard in the gym or something and we have some sore muscles, and what we feel like are tight muscles. In reality, the muscle is moving across the bone pretty smoothly, but it's the fascia, that connective tissue that's building up on that site, and it's pretty sticky. And when there's excess fascia that builds up, and it's so sticky that it can't release, that's when deep tissue massage comes into play. That's when a little bit of light stretching, when foam rolling, because it helps break up that fascia so that your muscles and your fascia are moving smoothly across one another, and it breaks up that stickiness. So that's what we do. That's what the goal with yin yoga is to hold in these poses, not at our limit, but right before that, so that we can let the sticky fascia build up, just slowly, gradually release and let go of bones, let go of the muscles and the ligaments. Continue to breathe deeply here through the nose. Maybe you match the length of your inhales and your exhales so that it's one long breath coming in and out. See if you can send the breath through the belly and the back of the body. As you inhale, you expand in the rib cage and the spine, through the belly, through the chest. And then as you exhale, everything gets compressed and falls down further into the mat. You may start to feel a little bit of tingling sensation in your feet, your ankles, compression in the hip flexors. And when we start to sort of feel those sensations, that discomfort, we can judge whether or not that discomfort is pain or if it's just not what we're normally feeling, right? So if we can distinguish that, and if we notice the difference between
just being working hard and being uncomfortable versus pain. And we want to be able to do that through the entirety of the class. And sitting with discomfort and breathing through discomfort is something that we have to deal with in every single day of our lives. So it's good to practice on the mat so that we can take it off of the mat. And anytime that we're in an uncomfortable position, mentally or physically, we can return back to our breathing, and closing the eyes and just turn inward. Slowly start to rise up into tabletop position. And then just bend or take your heel up towards your glute, one of the heels, and just start to roll out the ankle. And just releasing that sensation, that tingling sensation that we felt in the feet and the ankles. Maybe you wiggle the toes a little bit to get a little bit more movement there. Continuing to breathe. And then release one foot and then bend into the other one to roll out the ankle and roll out the foot. And then release that. We're going to come to sit on our back on our shins again. This time, Pops, you don't have to do this because it might hurt your calf. But we're going to tuck our toes under and sit on our heels. Grab a blanket and place it underneath your knees so that it's a little bit easier on the kneecaps. So this one's going to be pretty intense because it's a nice foot stretch. And then we're going to take our arms out wide like a T with our palms facing forward. And reach your arms back towards the back of your mat so you feel that expansion in the shoulders. And then flip the palms so the top of your hands are facing forward and start to bend at the elbows. See if you can take your fists behind your back like this. If you can get reverse namaste, reverse prayer hands, go for that. If that's too uncomfortable, take just the fists together. And we're going to be here for several minutes. So this one's a pretty uncomfortable one for the feet, but this is where that breath work comes in. And we have a tendency in this one when we have our fists behind our back or we're in reverse prayer hands to let the ribs splay out and flare forward. See if you can pull your belly towards your spine and pull your ribs together. And we'll only be here for a minute, so it's pretty intense in the feet, I know. And we're just going to take deep breaths. We're breathing through this. So this is where that uncomfortability comes into play, where we can practice breathing and focusing our awareness elsewhere. You can maybe count up to 5 with each inhale breath. And with each exhale breath, releasing. We're going to be here for 10 more seconds. Feeling the ankles, feeling the shins start to fire up. And then release. Back to tabletop position. Tuck your toes under and just tap the tops of your feet on the mat. That was a challenging one for sure. Okay, so we're going to move into a low lunge position. So take your right foot and step it in between your palms. Come up to standing and rise and place your palms on top of your right knee. And then we're going to take our legs at a 90-degree angle. So our front knee is stacked right over our ankle and our back hip is stacked right over our knee. And just take your palms, or continue placing your palms on your thigh. Drop your right hip down and see if you can push your left hip forward. Press into the tops of the feet and in the shins on your left leg. And then reach the crown of your head forward, and we're holding here for a few minutes. Feeling the sensation of the left quad and the left hip flexor. See if you can push your or take your tailbone down towards your heels and your front hip bones up towards your shoulder blades, your shoulders. Here, honey. What's she doing? You may start to just like find a little bit of movement, bending into the front knee. Breathing through this. If you have that movement, find more stillness. Coming back to center. Continue pulling the low belly towards the spine. Relax the shoulders. You feel the heat start to build in the quad and the left hip flexor. If you have Ujjayi breath in your practice, it's a good time to take that breathing technique. And that means, all that means is that we are breathing in and out through the nose, but we have a slight constriction in the back of the throat. And that allows us to make this sort of oceanic wave sound as our breath comes in and out of our nose. And the sound is sort of coming from our throat. You're slightly restricting the back of the throat. Your tongue is coming up to the top of the roof of your mouth. We're holding here for about 30 more seconds. And you can start to gradually feel the quad relax a little bit, hip flexor relax a little bit. It's all about just a gradual release of tension in these positions. 10 more seconds here. Continue to breathe. And then release. Plant your palms on either side of your front foot, and then step your right foot back. And then step your left foot in between your palms. You're setting up on the other side. Rise, place your palms on your left knee, and then find a 90-degree angle in your legs here once again. So we're pressing into the top of the right foot, pressing into the right shin bone, and reaching the crown of our head forward. Take the left hip down towards the earth, the right hip forward, and then see if you can pull your hip bones, your front hip bones, up towards your shoulders and your tailbone down towards your heels. And we're breathing here. Feeling the opening of the right quad, the right hip flexor. See if you can take your hips forward so that the pelvis is pointed straight up and down rather than tilted. Maybe you find a little bit of movement bending in and out of that front knee. And then if you have that movement, just find stillness once again. Continue to press out of the top of the foot and out of the shin to get longer in the spine. A lot of the times in a yin practice, our thoughts are all over the place. We're thinking, when are we going to get out of this pose? When can I go do my next activity? When can I eat? And it's okay to have those thoughts, but how we want to approach them is just by observation rather than letting them take a hold of our emotions and our feelings and take grip in our body, and just observing them and letting them pass by, letting them come in and out of our heads, and just watching them come and go with no real attachment. I'm holding here for another 30 seconds or so. Remembering to breathe. And then place the palms flat on the mat on either side of your foot. And then step your knee back. Come to seated on your heels and just set your hips to the side. We're going to swing our legs out in front of us. You may need to have a blanket underneath your sit bones. So just have your pelvis tilted a little bit farther forward so that you're not arching in the back like this. So if this is really difficult to sit up straight, place a blanket underneath your sit bones. You're going to bend your right knee and take your right foot on the inside of your left thigh. So you're in this half sort of butterfly with your knee open. Your left leg is extended and straight. And then have a pillow nearby. Place it on top of your thigh. You guys want to grab those? So this is going to be a little bit more of a passive fold. So we're going to turn our shoulders to face the extended leg. Reach our arms up towards the ceiling and then start to fold over that extended leg. And then you can grab onto whatever you have, an ankle or whatever you can, an ankle, your shin, your foot. And we're just gonna fold forward and let our chest and our ribs hang out on that pillow. You can start to feel and try, and the key here also is to not go super far. So don't like pull yourself into this. Just relax and like hang out, basically. Like we're just hanging out over the knee and over the thigh. And just let yourself sink into it as you breathe. So minimal effort here. We just want to be able to relax and breathe. You should start to feel the opening in the right back, the right side, low back, upper back, and middle back on the right side. A slight stretch in the hamstring on the left leg, and maybe even a little bit in the groin on the right leg, right side. So mostly this should be opening up the right side of your back. Find your breath. See if you can send your breath on that right side of your back. With each inhale, you're creating even more space on the right side. And with each exhale, you're sinking a little bit deeper into this pose. You find yourself, your upper body starting to shift back over to the right. Make sure that you're adjusting so that it's directly laying on top of your left leg. And your shoulders are facing the left foot. You may start to feel a little bit of tingling in the left foot and the right ankle. Just breathe through it. And we're holding here for another 30 seconds or so. And on your inhale, slowly start to rise very slowly back up to seated. And just feel those sensations in the back body, how it feels to sit upright again. And take a deep breath here. And as you exhale, extend the right leg forward and just shake out the knees. Bend into the left leg. Place the inside or sole of your left foot on the inside of your right thigh. And then place that pillow on top of your right leg. Turn your shoulders to face the extended right leg and reach your arms up towards the ceiling. Take a big inhale breath here. And then exhale, fold over the right leg. Let your chest rest on the pillow and grab your ankle, grab your shin, grab your foot, whatever you can reach for. And relax into this pose. You don't need to pull on anything to pull your chest forward. Just fully relax here. Feel the opening in the left side body, the left side of your back. Feel the stretch in the right hamstring, the inner groin on the left side. And just relax here. Relax if you're holding on to tension anywhere, maybe it's in the foot, in the ankle. See if you can relax that part of the body as well. If you find yourself turning back towards center, readjust so that your shoulders are facing forward, facing the right leg. Continuing to breathe, sending the breath into the left side of your back. And as you exhale, we're sinking deeper into the pose. Notice if there's any tingling sensations that you're starting to feel. Maybe it's in the feet, maybe it's in the ankles, maybe it's in the neck. You find that you've stopped that deep breath. Start back over again. Breathing as deeply as you can, in and out through the nose. We're here for another 30 seconds. And slowly start to rise back up to a seat. Take an inhale breath. So what it feels like, maybe you roll out the neck a little bit. Roll the shoulders and extend that left leg straight. Shake out the legs. Maybe roll the ankles a little bit. So we're going to come onto our belly. So just make your way to tabletop position. And then we're going to come down all the way onto our bellies. Place your your forearms in front of you on the mat and make a number 11 shape. And then see if you can get your elbows right underneath your shoulders. The tops of your feet are flat on the mat, and your pelvis is flat on the mat as well. See if you can take your tailbone towards your heels. And then start to draw your chest forward by dragging your forearms and your hands back towards your elbows. Sphinx pose. So we're going to stay here for a couple minutes. See if you can press the pubic bone into the mat, the tops of the feet in the mat, and continue drawing your chest forward in between your arms, broadening at the collarbones, and your chin is in line with the floor. Taking deep breaths, feeling the belly expand towards the ground as you inhale. And pull away from the ground as you exhale. Feeling the tingling in the low back, in the shoulders, collarbones. See if you can get long in the neck by pressing out of the mat and your forearms and your palms. Create a little bit more space between your ears and your shoulders. And I invite you to close your eyes in these postures so that you can go even more internal inside of you. Maybe you start to feel tingling in the elbows, the forearms and the hands. Inviting all the sensations that you're feeling right now, inviting them into your body and breathing through them. Knowing that everything that is uncomfortable in our lives is always temporary. And we will breathe through it, we will move through it. Here for another 30 seconds. Starting to feel shoulder blades in the back of the body start to fire up a little bit. And then release your forehead down toward the mat. Take your elbows to the sides and rest your forehead, stack your palms on top of each other, and just rest your forehead on your hands. And breathe. On your next inhale breath, reach your arms forward and then start to roll onto your back. So you may need to adjust so that, yeah, like that. You may need to adjust so that you're back on the mat, but we're rolling so that we're laying all the way on our back. Bend bend both of your knees and place the soles of your feet flat on the mat. And your feet should be about hips width distance apart. palms are out towards your side, or arms are straight out to your sides with your palms facing down. Start to lift the right knee and cross the right ankle over the left knee for a supine figure 4. So you have 3 options here. If this is enough for you, if this is a deep enough stretch in your right hip, you can stay here. Keep your right foot flexed. If you want a little bit more, start to lift the left foot off of the mat, drawing your shin, like drawing all of your legs, or both of your legs and your shin and your knee towards your chest. And then you can thread your hands in between and behind your left thigh to draw your knee and your shin even closer. See if you can keep your tailbone flat on the mat. And we're holding here in this supine figure 4 for a few minutes. Find your breath again. Keep that left foot or the right foot flexed. Notice how this feels in your low back. Notice how it feels in your outer hip. Notice how this feels at that connection point with your hamstring and your glute. So you should feel a little bit of tingling there, a little stretching in that place too. If you have your hands clasped behind your thigh, notice how that feels in your neck. By pulling into your thigh, you're creating even more space in the cervical spine. By pulling your shoulders away from your ears. If you lost that deep breath, come back to that. And we're here for another 30 seconds or so. Starting to feel that tingling in the ankle and the foot on the right side. And a gentle opening of the right hip. Slowly start to place, if you have the left foot lifted, place the left foot back on the mat. Draw both of your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins. See if you can continue pressing your tailbone down into the mat. And deep breaths here. Cross your right knee over your left. Take your arms out wide like a T or in goalpost position and start to drop your knees over to the left. If you find that your left or your right shoulder cannot stay flat on the mat, place a pillow underneath your knees. And we'll be here for a couple minutes. With each inhale breaths, feel all the blood and the oxygen massaging in your abdomen, sending the breath through up and down the spine in this twist. Feeling the opening in the right side of your body. And if you notice yourself gripping in the feet or the ankles or anywhere in the legs, let go of that tension. Maybe you're still trying to push your right shoulder down. Just release that tension in the right shoulder. Notice how this feels in the right hip as well, and the right glute. Maybe if you'd like, if your neck allows it, turn your head to face your right hand. And find your breath. Notice if there's anywhere that you're still holding on tension. And let go of that. Let go of any gripping that you're holding on to in the body. It should feel really good. Notice any tingling that you're feeling in the right foot, maybe the right glute. Notice how the tightness of the spine has started to, the tension of the spine has started to release a little bit. And take one more deep breath here, in through the nose. And exhale out. Pull your knees back up to center. Place both of your feet flat on the mat. Take your feet out wide and let your knees knock together. Readjust the position of your pelvis if you can to take your tailbone down towards your heels and that your sacrum is flat on the mat. And just let your spine readjust here. Take deep breaths in and out through the nose. And then extend your legs straight out in front of you, resting your heels flat on the mat and then reaching your arms overhead. So we're reaching in opposite directions. Maybe you point the toes. And just reach as much as you can to just stretch your body out. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Bend both of the knees, place your feet flat on the mat. And then start to lift the left foot up, cross the left ankle over the right knee. You can stay here if this is a deep enough stretch, or you can lift the right foot off of the mat, thread your hands around your right thigh and clasp your hands around your thigh. Continue to flex into the left foot. Energetically pull or push your right knee forward, and then start to pull your thigh and your shin and your knee towards your ribs. See if you can keep your tailbone flat on the mat. And you're holding here. Feeling the left side glute, the left hip open up. Even that connection point with the hamstring and the glute on the back of the thigh on the left side. Feeling what this feels like in the low back, the sacrum. Even what it feels like in the cervical spine as you draw your shoulders away from your ears. And take deep breaths. Breathing through whatever comes up. We hold a ton of emotion in our hips. So when we're finding ourselves in these longer holds and these deeper hip stretches, sometimes a lot of anger can emerge, a lot of sadness. So it's okay to start to feel those things and observe as those emotions and those thoughts as they come in and out of your mind, but taking time to observe them and honor them. And then effortlessly letting them pass by, letting them go. Start to feel the tingling in the left foot, in the ankle, maybe in the hands as you're gripping the back of the thigh. And then the outer hip and the glute. Start to feel a little bit of tingling there as well. If you've lost your breath, come back to that. And take one more deep breath here in through the nose. And exhale out. Uncross the legs. Draw both of your knees into your chest and wrap your arms around your shins. Feel the compression of the hip flexors, the release of the low back, the release of the right hip. And then we're going to cross our left knee over our right. Take our arms out wide like a T or like a goalpost. And then drop your knees over to the right. If your left shoulder lifts off of the mat, place a pillow underneath your knees. And slowly start to release all tension, all gripping that you may have in the knees, in the hips, in the thighs, in the feet and the ankles, and that left shoulder. You may feel a little bit of tingling in the hands here as we let go of that figure 4. If your neck allows it, turn your head to face your left hand. And notice how this feels in the left glute. And with each breath that you take, see if you can create a little bit more space in between each vertebra of your spine. Notice if there's any tension that you're still holding on to in your body. And let go of that. You may feel a little bit of pressure in the right hip bone outer right hip bone where it's on the mat. Just breathe through that deeply through the nose. Notice if you're gripping your fingers at all or your wrists. Notice how this feels in the low back. Come back to the breath if you've lost it. And we'll take one last inhale here together through the nose. And exhale out. Return your knees back to center, placing the feet flat on the mat, readjusting your spine so that it's straight and your pelvis is flat on the mat. Take your feet out wide and let your knees knock together. And breathe here. Maybe you place your right hand over your belly and your left hand over your heart to feel the rise and fall as you breathe. Extend your legs straight out in front of you, and then reach your arms overhead, reaching in opposite directions, creating as much length in your body as you can. And take deep breaths. And then take your arms down by your side. So we're going to bend into the elbows and start to press up onto our forearms. Take your palms and start to shove them underneath your sit bones. And so we're pulling our shoulder blades together. We're going to come into fish pose. So your legs are straight out in front of you. Your palms are underneath your sit bones. And then just drop your neck back. Maybe you point the toes just effortlessly. Press out of the palms and out of the forearms. Take deep breaths in and out through the nose. Opening up the throat, opening up the front body. Feel what this is feeling like in the neck and in the low back. Maybe in the palms and the fingers. And we're going to take one more deep breath here together through the nose. And exhale out. Very, very slowly start to pull the neck up, pull the head up straight. Very, very, very slowly. And then wiggle your hands out from underneath you. And then lay back on your back. Take your, we're going to come into our final resting pose. So take your legs out wide. Let the outer edges of your feet drop down to the floor. Take your arms out next to you by your sides with your palms facing up. Press into the back of your head to lift your shoulder blades off of the mat and pull them together underneath you. And then see if you can do the same with your tailbone. So lift your hips off of the mat and tuck your tailbone underneath you. And we're in our final resting pose, Shavasana.
Close your eyes if they are not already. Unclench your jaw. Remove the tongue from the roof of your mouth. And starting with the crown of your head, start to scan your body from head to toe, noticing if there's any areas that you're still holding on to, that you're still feeling tension. Let gravity do its work. Just let your body sink into the mat. Your lips are slightly parted. Enjoy this final Shavasana. Let go of the breath. Without moving any muscles, start to bring your awareness back to your body and your breath. Maybe you invite some gentle movement in the fingers and the toes, and then the wrists and the ankles. And you bend the knees and place your feet onto the mat, reaching the arms overhead and stretching into the front of your mat. And then just go ahead and roll over to one side in a fetal position, letting your ear rest on your bicep. And just taking a moment to appreciate the time that you took out of your day to relax, and maybe your body's a little bit more open, the mind a little bit more calm and clear. And then using the hand that's on the mat, press up to a seat, comfortable seated position. Maybe with your legs crossed in front of you or on your shins. And then rest your palms on top of your knees. Keeping your eyes closed. I appreciate all of you for showing up today, and hope that you got just as much goodness out of this practice that I did. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye, guys. Namaste, bitches.